my dudes, my dogs, my brothers and sisters in the international Max MSP conspiracy. What is going on? It's your good buddy Sam, and it's time for another exciting Max MSP tutorial. Today, I want to talk about Jit.mo a little bit more. I want to talk about Jit.mo.field and how to do some audio reactivity. First, I just want to plug, I hope this isn't too annoying, but I just want to plug really quickly something you may have been wondering over the past year, maybe, is how come there's never any content on my channel? How come I make a video like once every 7 months? Part of the reason for that is that I spent all last year setting up a digital creative agency with a couple of friends of mine in Brooklyn in the effort to lead the most Brooklyn lifestyle possible, I guess. We're called Girlfriends Labs, and we make websites, apps, installations. So if you or someone you love is looking for one of those things, you should hit us up. But anyway, enough about that. Let's talk about what we're all here for. Let's talk about Max. So we know all about how to make toggles. We know all about how to make a jit.world. We know all about how to make a message box that says floating $1 and then make another toggle and then connect those and then connect these and then connect this so that we have a floating window doing OpenGL rendering. We'll just put that over there for now. What I want to talk about is how to use this cool object called Jit Mo Field. So to see how that works, we're going to need, of course, a jit.gl.camera to control the camera. And we'll probably be using that to zoom out here in a second. So I'm just going to grab the position of this camera and then make a jit.gl.gridshape at shape cube at lighting enable 1. You may have seen this go from dark gray to very slightly light gray. That's the face of the cube. And if we zoom out, we can see the cube. And now I'm just going to make a jit.gl.multiple. And jit.gl multiple, as we know, it just takes a reference shape, like this jit.gl grid shape, and multiplies it using an input matrix to determine how many copies to make and what the characteristics of each copy are going to be. First argument here, 3, is because I want to control 3 things: the position, rotate XYZ, and color of each one of these things. So I want to do at gl params, position, rotate, XYZ, and color. And when I connect this to this grid shape, it should go black because we haven't set a color yet. We'll get to that. So first things first, let's just make some more cubes. I think we already looked at jit.mo.func. In case you needed reminding, jitmofunc takes a function and evaluates it over the range 0 to 1. Last time we used the function at function sine, which evaluated a sine wave over that interval to give us a wave that we could use to draw a bunch of cubes in a wavy circular way. This time I'm going to do at function line, which unsurprisingly just makes a line. That by default goes from -1 to 1. And I'm just going to make a couple more of these jit mo func at function line dudes here. But I'm going to do at start 0 and at end 0 for each one of these. I want to draw a line that just goes right along the x-axis. And so I just want the x value to change, but the y, the height of the cube, and its depth, how far into the screen it goes, I want those to remain 0. So now we'll do jit.join. We can maybe spell it right. Jit.mo.join at, just 320, because I want 3 values, x, y, and z, and 20 copies. And if I connect this down to the GL multiple, now you can see these cubes. They're very close together, so it looks more like a black loaf than it does a bunch of cubes. But if I do something like jit.times at val 25, then this should space the cubes out a little bit more. And then you can see 4 of these cubes with that beautiful computer-generated perspective going on. I'm just going to zoom the camera back to like 35, maybe even 45. Now you can see all the cubes there in a row. Cool. So to really see the field effect that I want to play with, I don't just want a line of cubes. I actually want a grid. And unsurprisingly, the object for doing that in the jit.mo package. By the way, maybe this is this is not the time to mention this, but jit.mo comes with it's a Max package that you can install from the package manager. That contains all these Jit Mo objects. It's in one of these. I wouldn't, I don't know exactly. Yeah, there it is, jit.mo. So jit.mo, and in particular jit.mo.grid is the one that we want to play around with. Jitmo grid, it's got two attributes that are worth talking about. One of them is called rows, which is the number of rows that it's going to make. So I'll set at rows 20. And the other one is the grid dim. Grid dim is which dimension we're going to be copying these cubes along to make the other rows. So if we do at grid dim 2, for example, this would copy the cubes along the z-axis. And you'll see a plane of cubes. Well, it's hard to see here, but if I move the camera up a bit, you can see a plane of cubes retreating into space. I actually want to copy these along the y-axis though. So I'll go at grid dim 1 for the y-axis. And now if I zoom out the camera, you can see a big grid of cubes, which is cool. These cubes are black and not just like, you know, dark or not reflecting much light, but actually so black. These are Vanta black cubes that reflect no light whatsoever and are completely invisible. So I just want to set them to have some kind of basic color. So I'm going to come over here and make a jit.matrix 3 for red, green, and blue, float 32, 1, 1. And if you just connect this to color and do set all 1, 1, 1, bang, this will make all of the cubes white. So there they are, all these white cubes. And now I want to give the cubes some random rotation too, so we can help distinguish them a little bit. So I'm going to make a jit.noise here and give it the arguments 3, float, 32, 2, 2. And then if we just connect this directly here and hit this bang, it's not going to do much. We actually probably need to rotate or actually multiply this noise value. So the noise goes between 0 and 1, but the rotation values for these cubes goes between 0 and 360. So we'll actually need to multiply this by 360, and that should be a jit dot times at val 360. Oh my God, what is happening? At val 360. If we actually want to see this rotate. There we go. Now, because this input matrix has the dimensions 2 by 2, but the matrix of positions that we're setting is 20 by 20, you can see this rotation being repeated across this cube. That's fine. It might not be what we want. So here's a cool trick that you can use to interpolate that rotation across this face if you want to. If I make another jit.matrix here, but I give it the attributes at adapt 0 at interp 1, this matrix will interpolate whatever matrix it gets in up to whatever dimensions it happens to have. So if I send a 2 by 2 matrix into this one, and this matrix is 100 by 100, it will interpolate up to 100 by 100 matrix. And so if I do jit.matrix info, so that whatever comes out of this Jitmo grid is the same, so that whatever the dimensions of what's coming out of this Jitmo grid will be used to set the dimensions of this jit.matrix. And then I connect these dudes up like so, and hit this bang. Now you can see that we've got like 2 distinct rotations, or rather 4 distinct rotations, 1 for each corner, but it's interpolating those values across the face of this cube, which I think looks pretty nifty. Okay, but this is all baby stuff, or not baby stuff, but just not what I really wanted to talk about today, which is this object called jit.mo.field. And what Jit Mo Field does is take a matrix and push the values or pull the values out from a particular point. So if I connect the Jit Mo Field in here, I'm going to make a little room here. Just going to take these guys and make this multiple object super long, and then just move this over here I didn't mean to do that. Just move these guys over here and move this guy over to here. Why not? And then straighten this patch cord out so we have some space. Awesome. So I'm just going to now make two attribute adder UIs here and connect those to Jit Mo Field. And I'm going to pick the force and the radius. And these do pretty much what you would expect. As I start to crank up the force here, you'll see these little cubes way in the middle of this cube. These cubes way in the middle of this cube playing get thrown out to the side. So that's what this Jit Mo Field does, is it kind of puts a pseudo force on these cubes, on whatever shapes are happen to be passed into it, and moves them according to some force. And the radius is just how far away that effect is felt. So as I increase the radius, it pushes all these cubes out. And as I decrease the radius, it's just the ones right in the middle that get affected. So the obvious thing to do here, I think, is connect some audio and see how it goes. It's been a pretty long week. I've been wrestling with JS Doc all week. JS Doc, the maybe least... Where did my song go? I did put it in, right? Where did it... Is it hidden? I find that sometimes when Max is zoomed in, it can take a very... It can be pretty indifferent with... Okay, where is this goddamn song? Okay, let's try this. Playlist tilde, and now I'll drop the song into that. Nice. Fooled you, Max. Cool, so there's our song, something nice and relaxing, just to, settle the spirits over the weekend. And then we'll put it in easy DAC so we can listen to it. And turn that on. And let's get right in the middle where it starts to really get loud. Cool. So you could do a pretty long series of videos on how to extract envelope from a piece of music. I'm going to use a method that kind of combines loudness with transient detection. So transients are when things are happening in the sound, and loudness is how loud the sound is at that point. And by combining the two, I kind of want to know when distinctive events are happening in the sound. And there's a few different ways to do that. Here's one way you can do it. I'm going to start with a low res tilde with arguments 250, maybe 220 and 0.9. This is just a very resonant low pass filter near 220 hertz to really pick up bassy sounds. And then what I'm going to do is take this delta tilde object. Delta tilde calculates the difference between successive frames. Actually, I'm going to throw an abs tilde in here first to take the absolute value of the signal, and then pass that into delta tilde. Because what I'm interested in are places where the sound suddenly gets much, much louder. And this delta tilde object measures the difference between successive audio samples. If you just had a continuous bass tone and you didn't have this delta tilde in place, that would be detected as having a lot of amplitude in the lower frequencies, even though all you have is a continuous tone. So after this, I'm going to do ramp smooth 5000 just to slow things down, so make the signal decrease slowly but increase normally. And then times tilde, and just take the signal and multiply it by itself here, square the signal, which tends to make it a bit peakier. And then I'm going to multiply by 1000. And this multiplied by 1000 here is absolutely the fudge factor. I'm just, from experience, I know that I'm going to need to scale it up to about that much to actually see the signal. Yeah, so I had to scale it up by 1000 just to see, but hopefully you can see that there are these big peaks here in the signal, and those are actually all the kick drums. So this is exactly what I want. I'm really picking up the big bassy sounds in this song. So now, having done all that, I can make a snapshot tilde sound to get a picture of the audio waveform at a particular point in time. And because I want those audio waveforms to be synchronized with the frames that I'm rendering, I'm going to make a send render bang here outside of jit.world, connect it to the middle outlet, which outputs bangs before every frame gets rendered, and then make an R render bang over here and connect it to Snapshot so that we can see the sample values that we're picking up from this envelope extraction. And then finally, we'll do something like send env so that we can send envelope values from this song over to the rest of the patch. And now, how about we do something like r env and connect that to the force. Look at that. Perfect. Exactly what we were dreaming of. And you can connect this to radius too. Maybe we'll do like, okay, let's take the envelope and we'll multiply it by 2 and then connect this to the radius. Yeah, okay, I like that. Cool. So what could we do now? I mean, there's a lot of different directions that we could take this in. Let's see, the first thing that I noticed looking at this is that it's maybe it happens too fast. Whenever these cubes get moved out of the way, they immediately come back, well, sort of immediately come back to their original position. I'd like to kind of slow their return back to their original position down a little bit. Here's how I'm going to approach that. I'm going to take this and just move this down to give myself some more space to work with. And what I'm going to do is take the position of the cubes and do jit.minus. And I'm going to subtract the position of these cubes from their calculated position here out of Jit Mo Field. And then what I'm going to do, so this value here, this is the difference between where the cube would be if Jit Mo Field weren't present and where it is with Jit Mo Field present. I actually think I have these backwards, so I'm going to flip these around. Yeah, like this. Or, yeah, I'm thinking about positioning this stuff. Yeah, let's just do this. And then I'm going to move this way over here like this. Cool. So what comes out of this jit.minus is the difference between where the cubes are and where jit.force wants them to be. And then if I just take that signal and do jit.plus here, and all I'm going to do is make what's basically a delay line for the position change in these cubes. So I'm going to take the this position change, and after multiplying it by jit.times at val 0.9, I'm going to take this and feed it back on itself like this with every single frame, and then jit.plus, add this back to the original cube positions. And so what this will do, hopefully, is make it so that, yeah, it's a bit too much maybe. So now I gotta scale back this force a little bit. Let's see, jit.time, oh no, just plain times, let's see, 0.4 maybe. So that slowed the recovery of those. So like, yeah, we basically slowed down the recovery of these cubes way, way down so that it takes them a much longer time to get back to their original position. Okay, so the next thing that I notice here that I'd like to change is that these cubes sort of spend, or I don't want the position that this force is applied at to always be right in the middle of this array of cubes. I want it to kind of move around a little bit. So I'm going to make a kind of noisy LFO to control those positions. So we've got our envelope extractor over here. I'm just going to move this over and then make rand tilde. And rand tilde is just very low frequency noise. I'm going to make a rand tilde 1 and then do snapshot tilde underneath it, and then add in another R render bang. And this is just going to get a picture of this very slowly changing noisy. So here's noise, kind of. It's just this signal that wanders up and down with a frequency of about 1 hertz. So I want not one of those, not 2 of those, but 3 of those. 2, 3, and we'll do jit, or we'll just do regular pack FFF to combine these into a single value, with one slight modification. This last one controls the Z value of the location where I'm going to put this force. And if the Z value moves too far away from the plane, we won't see anything. So I'm actually just going to multiply this by 0.1 so that no matter where our force wanders in the Z direction, it's always pretty close to the place where it started out. And I'm just going to make a send LFO. And now if I add another adder UI to this Jit Mo Field and set this to be the location, and then we do R LFO, now that place where the force is being applied is wandering around this shape, which is cool. Let's see, so what's the next thing that we could do here? How about we give these cubes a little bit of color? Right now they're just white, but one thing we could try is giving them color, and in particular, maybe we could give them a color that depends on how far from where they started out they are. So I'm going to, let's try this. Okay, let's do, so this value coming out here, this is the distance of each cube from where it should be. So if I take the jit.abs value of that, this is how far the cube has moved. And then maybe we can do something like jit.pow at val4, and then jit.times at val20. I'm just trying to scale the change in position of each cube up a little bit so that we can get this scaling just kind of makes it so the effect is by scaling up using a power of 4 here, I make it so that the cubes have to move actually quite a long way to see any change in their color. And this 20 here just scales up that change in color, so it's quite saturated. And now you can see what that effect is doing. It makes it so that cubes that are pushed from their original position are colorful, but those that are close to 0 aren't, which is cool, I guess. So already I'm pretty pleased with, well, maybe I shouldn't be too pleased, but I'm happy with this effect. I hate the gray background though. Let's come in here and change the erase color on this jit.world. Erase color. Let's change that to flat black. And that's even cooler because now when the cubes aren't being moved from their original position, they're totally, you can't see them. They're completely black. And now, you know what, let's add in a jit.anim.node here and attach this to this jit.gl multiple. Jit.anim node lets you apply a transformation, a translation, a rotation, or a scaling to whatever GL object it happens to be attached to. So I'm going to take this jit.anim node and add in here rotate XYZ. I clicked rotate XYZ. And this will just let us rotate the whole plane actually. So this rotate XYZ down here, that's the rotation of each individual cube, but this is the rotation of the entire plane. A bit hard to see unless the erase color is not black. So let's make the erase color not black just for a second. And now you can see what happens when I rotate this whole plane around like this. Pretty nifty. We should animate that. That would be cool. So let's change this. I think you can change jit.anim node to jit.anim drive. And then we can do turn 111. And this will make the whole thing rotate. Yeah, that's what's up. And let's do like, that's basically fine. I'm just gonna change the Z to 0.4 so that the Z-axis is rotating a bit more slowly than the X and Y axes, just so the position is a little more random. Let's change the Y to 1.2. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, so now the last cheesy trick that you can always do with these kind of things is if you make it's the favorite trick. You take the erase color and you make it slightly transparent, and then suddenly your thing has trails. I just want to do an epilepsy warning right now, because something interesting about Jit.world is the way it handles the render buffer, I think, is what's going on here. So if you make the opacity quite low, you'll see that it's doing this kind of flashy thing where it alternates between one buffer and another buffer, and it causes the... So what I've done is I've set the opacity for the erase color low so that the previous frame isn't totally erased. There's still some remnants of it left behind. And what this does is, because the Jit world by default uses two different buffers to render, it's causing the this kind of nausea-inducing effect. Maybe nausea-inducing, depending on your... Me, personally, I happen to quite like it, but, you know, that's me. So one thing that's kind of interesting is if you open up Jit.world and you change the FSAA, this here, which stands for full screen anti-aliasing, if you turn that on, it causes the Jit world to apply an anti-aliasing effect, and among other things, so it makes your image look smoother at full screen resolution, and also it changes the way that Jit.world does its buffering, so that you no longer have that issue of flickering. And now you can go full screen with this thing. And you get this kind of neat effect. You can, of course, play around with a lot of different stuff here. I might try increasing the force or increasing the radius. Make the force like 0.8. And maybe you want to, if you change the z-axis here and you multiply the z position of your force by a different value, like say 0.4, then you can get wider excursions in the z dimension, and that could be interesting too. This effect's going a little bit off the rails. It's hard even to tell what's going on here, but I think it looks pretty cool. So in any case, lots of parameters there to play around with to find the colored cube dance animation of your dreams, which I'm sure is out there. But in any case, I'll throw this patch up with some fun knobs to tweak. And yeah, thanks for watching. Look out for the next Jit Mo video or random Max MSP video sometime soon, I hope. Take it easy, guys, and I'll see you next time.